Sometimes I wonder if anyone actually listens to anything I say. And and what I mean is, sometimes I'll say things, and I think what I say is very clear and very concise and very apparent regarding what I actually mean. And then what I receive in return, in response, in reply, is not at all what I said whatsoever. I bring this up because recently I decided to, and I do this sometimes over in the Discord server. I'll ask for some fan input, and in this case, I was thinking, it might be fun. What if I did a video where all I did was go over basically train concepts or locomotive concepts that are just utterly ridiculous and effectively fan creations. Like, they're not actually stuff that was seriously considered. They're not stuff that was actually built. They weren't even proposed by an actual company. They're just concepts that someone created on DeviantArt or something. And those sorts of things are floating around all over the place. Some in the Discord server make their own. These are things that are never going to get built and never were built, and but some of them are pretty funny and interesting to look at. Something like insane, like I don't know, a 218-2, like something absurd that would never actually exist because that's utterly ridiculous. And I asked for concepts, like that, and a handful of people did reply with logical concepts, but not very many. Most of what I got were not concepts at all, but things that were actually built and used. And most of the blame can be laid squarely at the feet of Australia. I don't know why that keeps happening. But thank you, Will. In particular, as you were the one that violently misunderstood me, mostly. Although another follower over in Germany also did the same thing, and I have some German ones too. So we're gonna put the concept idea on the back burner because they gave me a bunch of stuff to look at that is too ridiculous not to talk about. I decided not to make this into like an actual legitimate top 5 list because I don't think it needs it. Most of this stuff isn't stuff I could talk about at any great length anyway. So we're just going to go over a few of the things. Most of it is Australian, but I'm going to start with the stuff that the German sent me. First thing is a vanilla choice. You're looking at this and some of you are probably like, wait, isn't that the French TGV, their high-speed train? And yes, it is. However, it is not the passenger version. It is the mail version. Which I can't even be mad at, because yeah, mail's gotta get places. Get places that are fast, so let's make it TGV, but make it yellow, and make it carry the mail. Odd as that may seem, the mail and railroads have gone hand in hand since the very beginning. That was one of the best things about railroads, that suddenly letters and other mail could get place to place much faster. Sending the mail was one of the early railroads' huge money makers. That was big for them, and big for culture in general and communication. It's a massive thing. So the notion of creating a high-speed rail train, I'm not gonna besmirch it. I'm not gonna get sassy about it. I actually think it kind of looks good in yellow, not gonna lie. Not bad, France, not bad. This one, on the other hand, is way more interesting, because it is a concept that I saw in concept form years ago. Never made a video about it because I thought it was so utterly stupid that I never believed it would actually get built. Yet here we are, thank you, Germany. But looking at it, I actually... Let me explain what this is before we go any further. This is an actually built version of the rail pod concept. A rail pod is the idea of basically making a dedicated container car. Self-moving container car, so also a locomotive, but not pulling anything. And you put the stuff in the pods, and you send them all individually along the tracks. Now this is dumb, at face value because it defeats the purpose of a friggin' train as well as the efficiency of a train. Like, why would you do that? Just put it in a train. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work. But these ones in particular take it a step further and make them even smaller and use gyroscopes to keep them balanced, as well as a, safety buffer on the other side of the rail, but technically only riding on a single rail, using gyroscopes to stay upright in effectively the same way as the gyroscopic monorail that I talked about a long time ago on one of the top 5 lists. I think it was a Mad Science one, because there's no other place I would put that. Anyway, but these are for cargo and little pods, and you put the stuff in it, and you send it along the line, and that's dumb. Except, thinking on it, I actually kinda can see a use case for this. Because we talked about a lot of railway company failures over the years, and one of the things that keeps getting brought up, whether it's British Rail or whether it's any company over here in America, is the requirement to abandon non-profitable branch lines, because the trains they're running on there just don't make any money. There isn't enough to move. But that's only if we're talking about a big train. What if you put a bunch of these pods and sent, little, effectively drones down the line to send smaller shipments that way? You're still using the branch lines in that manner, just not with a full-size train. And in theory, wouldn't that result in it being profitable, because these pods are a lot cheaper than actually creating a whole train and sending it down the line? I'm not saying this will replace big trains in general, because it won't, ever. It's not more efficient than them, and it absolutely not. But I think in certain cases, certain contexts, certain niches, this might actually make some logical sense. Especially when we're talking about it in a drone format, because one of these people are worried about with, self-driving cars and stuff is that, well, they're self-driving and people don't trust them. But these don't have to necessarily self-drive in the same way, because they're on a track. You know where they're gonna go. They can't turn. So, in that way, they're cheaper, they require less programming, they just need to know where to stop. Like, I'm just saying, I think maybe in certain contexts, this could actually save some branch lines and keep them running. Not in the same way, but still making them useful and helpful and getting trucks off the roads, clearing up traffic. I'm just saying, maybe not the worst idea in that way. So you're probably looking at this and saying that, wait, isn't that like a passenger coach? And, well, it was. It ain't now. What happened was Germany wanted to create a high-speed freight train, but at the time didn't want to make standalone cars for it, so they just converted some older passenger coaches in order to carry containers. Not a bad idea, but only one coach was actually converted, and it's because that converting the old coaches... Okay, look, the coaches could go faster than the freight cars they had, but not high speed faster. They still had to limit the speed, so after they got done with the conversion, they were like, wait, we still can't make this go as fast as we want or need it to. So they only converted the one, and it resulted in this weird-looking coach that is no longer a coach. That's a thing that now exists. Thank you for that. And the rest of these are all Australian. Thank you, Will. And by that I mean, no thank you, how dare you. But here we are. No one understands a word I say. Especially not Australians, apparently. First up for Australia involves British Rail. Really? Really, we're going to involve both of you? Well, okay, to be fair, British Rail didn't really do anything wrong in this situation. In fact, it started because it did something right. British Rail had gotten their act together by the 1970s and the 1980s, and it developed a high-speed freight wagon. And it worked well enough that the Australians wanted it, but wait! Not the whole thing. No. See, the Australians only asked for the axle sets, not the whole car. I assume this was to save money. But now you're probably wondering, okay, well, if they got the axles, what did they put it on? Well, they weren't just going to mount it on any old freight car. No, they were going to create their own. And by create their own, they were going to cut one in half and extend it. And then weld it together again to make a brand new wagon. And by brand new, I mean not brand new at all. And stick those modern, cool axles on it for high speed. And that... Really? I mean, technically speaking, it worked, but this homemade option was not considered ideal, and they only used it for a few years before I presume they got some actual, fully built, brand new high-speed freight cars instead of this. Now, this one I'm gonna be soft on, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't meant to be taken super seriously. But in the early days of a preserved railway down there, the Walhalla Goldfields Railway, located in Victoria, one of the members decided to build a rail-mounted, steam-powered concrete mixer. Now, for a practical benefit here, I can see a lot of problems, because when are you going to use a... But it is presumed that they did this just for funsies. Just because they could. And in that way, it's harmless, you know? Like, hey, have fun. Okay, that's kind of neat. That's kind of neat. Less neat, and way more alarming and horrifying. I couldn't even believe this when it was submitted. But in the early days, Victorian Railways decided that, you know, we really need some lighter wheels. You know, some lighter wheels in our locomotives. So we're gonna make some. And that's fine. Did they cast them? Like normal people? No. No, instead, Victorian Railways decided a really great decision. Just a super top tier, absolutely won't result in a horrific disaster at any time decision. Was to weld multiple individual pressed steel plates together to make the wheel. Are you serious? Well, I am serious. And, this was not considered a good idea. It is a hilariously bad idea, actually. One A2 class, a 460 locomotive 888, was fitted with these wheels, but she was forced to run at reduced speed. Really? Why? And the experiment was unsuccessful because, yeah, like, what? Who sat there and said that was a good idea? Honestly, this one may not look super bizarre at first, but bear with me. In the 1960s, there was a narrow gauge route in Australia, because of course there was. They had all the gauges. That's what they did. But on the Northern Australia Railway, that ran south of Darwin in the Northern Territory, they were getting a bunch of new iron ore traffic. To meet demand, they built a new fleet of hoppers that had two different designs. But the ones that I'm going to focus on are the NHB type that had a heavily rounded shape. They're relevant because in 1974, the ore trains stopped being a thing, pretty much. There just wasn't any to move, and then the line got stopped entirely in 1976 after it was hit by a cyclone, so that was good. But the hoppers did survive and sat around for a bit, but then they were rebuilt. Not for ore transport, but to move grain. Now, you don't generally put grain in something that's used to move ore. Those are two very different things. The Australians did it. In order to accomplish this, they cut the original hoppers in half and lengthened them, while also adding a cover over the top. To be fair, despite a homemade welding job being involved, they did work. They could move the grain just fine and perfectly safely. That wasn't until 2017 when they stopped being functional in their role because the trains had gotten so much longer and heavier that they actually started ripping the hoppers apart. The welds would not hold, but they did get over 3 decades out of them. So hey, you can't really knock it. I can knock this though. This was done by the Commonwealth Railways. It was an attempt to improve the carrying capacity of their car carriers. Do you see the problem? I'm sure you do. You're a smart person. I saw the problem immediately myself. Did no one sit there and say, hey, won't this be really top-heavy? 'Cause it is. There's a reason. There's a reason this design was not really repeated at all. Because, well, it did technically increase the capacity of the car carrier. I mean, yeah, you could add a second row. That's great. Also, you did it only on the top, I presume, because of loading gauge restrictions. But that means most of the weight is now in the top of the... You're just going to fall over at some point, and I refuse to believe that it won't, alright? Getting back to super-de-duper dangerous ideas, in 1999, Silverton wanted to improve the fuel combustion performance of their fleet of Alco diesels they were still using. Cool. So they conducted a bit of an experiment. Bit of a mad science experiment, if you will. And they converted one of the diesels to inject LPG into the diesel fuel system. That would allow for a higher burn temperature and reduced exhaust smoke. So hey, that's cool. Except, the way they went about this, well, I haven't shown you the picture yet because I was just... Okay, just look at this. Guys. Guys. There was a better way to do this, and I think you know that. No! No, we are not putting the highly flammable containers on the outside of... No! And last, for the land down under, just one more thing to discuss. This time, to be fair, I actually have a defense for it. Because it's going to sound ridiculous, but, well, let me explain. In the late 80s, Australian National was increasing the length of their coal train up to 160 wagons. That would mean they would drop the total number of movements per day of coal from 2 to 1. They basically just doubled the length of the train. Fine, but the problem was not that the diesels couldn't handle it in terms of pulling it. What they couldn't handle was braking it. Air capacity of the locomotives was insufficient to brake the entire train, and obviously, given this is a heavy coal train, you definitely want to make sure your brakes are functioning. So to deal with this problem, they decided that it was a really great idea, and admittedly, okay, it's a stupid idea, but it's one of those stupid ideas that's, like, so dumb it's genius because it's so dirt simple. Australia does this all the time. I don't know if you noticed. They mounted an air compressor and air reservoirs to a flat wagon. That was attached to the back of the train, giving it enough air to actually use the brakes properly. It worked so well that they refined the concept and continued doing it until 2015 when the coal train stopped entirely. Now, as silly as this may be, for one thing, it did work. And for two, is this so different than a brake van? Because in the early days of railroading, they nearly needed the brake van because they didn't have air brakes. Those weren't invented yet. So in a really roundabout way, quite literally, they came full circle and went right back to brake vans. They were like, hey, we don't have enough air in the diesels to brake the train. Well, make a brake van with this flat car. That's what they did. Hey, this one I'm not even gonna make fun of too much. I mean, I will. But in all seriousness, it did work. And it helped them brake the train. And I'd much rather you do something monumentally stupid to apply the brakes than ignore your lack of braking power, you know? Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.